Volkswagen has canned the ID.4 for America. Maybe not forever. It seems like they could reintroduce it in the future, but they're replacing the production in Chattanooga with the Atlas. So this is pretty interesting news. We've had so many cancellations this year already. We've had Lightning, S and X, ID Buzz, which should be making a return later on. Is what it seems like. The production pause for 2026 to go to 27. It's been really confusing. We have Wes on, who's had an ID.4. What are your thoughts on this whole situation? I'm confused.
Yeah, man, it's kind of sad. So I have a 2023 ID.4. I run kind of the testing channel and stuff here for Out of Spec. If you don't know me, but yeah, it's unfortunate. I've seen, yeah, like you said, we've seen that with Lightning and everybody. I don't know. It seems like in maybe economic uncertainty right now too, that it's really just all about safety for the companies, and they're right. We don't want to say we're done, but we're going to cut off maybe some losses for these vehicles because they're not high volume. They don't make as much money. They don't make as much sense. So then we're going to stop that for now. And like the ID Buzz and stuff, maybe that comes back next year, and they just want to buy some time to not bleed money. Especially, I know Ford was losing a bunch on the Lightning.
Oh yeah.
So maybe buy that time and just give us a new strategy or time to do that. And I think that's a lot of what's going on, because I think there is enough demand for it, but it's getting the right strategy. And then, like I said, with economic things, and then I even want to dig in here too, here with like the used EV market, how much does that cannibalize new sales? Because if you don't know, I made a video back in December on the Bits channel here, and that was me picking up my 23 ID.4 all-wheel drive with like 46,000 miles on it for $19K, which is, I mean, it's a 60% reduction in like, or loss in value in just 2 or 3 years. It's insane.
Yep.
Which, is bad for new owners, and that kind of hurts people wanting to buy new, but it also is so much cheaper that it doesn't make sense to buy new. So it's like a double whammy with that.
100%.
Yeah, it's the set, but there might be a mixture of things like that going on.
Yeah, I agree. And it seems like they have a future, 27 ID.4 plan that they're going to share later on. But it seems like it might be a similar thing. ID Buzz was pretty much first it was like it's canceled. And they're like, no, it's not, and we were confused with that whole thing. Is more of just getting through the 25 inventory and then coming back in 27 with the new model year. It may be more or less the same thing here. Maybe just excess inventory of current, 25 or actually 2026 model year ID.4s that they're going to, I guess, sell through. And you make a good point. The used market is insane right now. Like the Model 3 Performance, I paid way too much money for it back in 22. You get another one used for like, under 30K, some under 20K. I was looking at the trading value back when I had it, and it was just plummeted. It's great for the new buyer who got it. If I recall correctly, after I sold that Model 3, the dealership that picked it up sold it for I think 17K, fully loaded 3 Performance, FSD, everything from 2019.
FSD, that's wild.
Yeah, 17K. It had ceramic tints and everything. Like used EVs are so good right now because especially ones with long warranties, like Rivian has super long powertrain warranties for their used EVs, and even those are coming down to like the 70s, 60s, 50s. I saw a few 40s even with high mileage, but like it's crazy, and that could be the kind of the general market challenge that these manufacturers are seeing. I don't think Lightning, although Lightning may be gone production wise, it's not going away anytime soon on the roads because there's so many used ones. They also, like ID Buzz, had so much inventory left over. I drove by the dealership I bought my Lightning from just about a year ago. We're like 37 days from a year or something like that of owning it. And I drove by the dealership that I got it from, and about maybe a week ago, still a lineup of Lightnings there. And they've been in production, what was this, last December, November?
Wow. Yeah.
And they're still out there. So they're selling pretty slow. that could be a matter of a magnitude of reasons. It could be, the dealership experience, which I experienced firsthand, not the best for EVs. But it also could be, to your point, demand. Used ones are so good. A used Lightning is way cheaper than a new one with pretty much the same performance. And the same could go for these Volkswagens, for Teslas, you name it. And that could be a big player in what the general market change we've seen happen the last, going on 4, 5, 6 months now.
Yeah. And yeah, like I come back around to the kind of economic uncertainty. I wonder, with all these decisions for multiple manufacturers to do this, is this going to end up being, I don't feel like they would. I don't know why, but I just haven't. But like Hyundai, Kia, or somebody like that, is this going to be a delay for the next iteration of stuff like this, or more companies going to follow that in the meantime? If this like uncertainty of, such in this whole situation in the U.S. just gets dragged out longer, is that going to make some kind of difference or cause them to want to hold off on that too? It's very interesting. I don't know. It's especially if car sales are affected as a whole, then EVs just get more disproportionately affected, or more extremely affected, I guess. And so, yeah, it's sad, but I guess if you're, from that company perspective, it may make financial sense. It's hard to say.
Yeah, definitely. And Atlas, which is replacing at this factory, is a very good seller. So it makes sense. Plus, for those who are watching, who were looking at 94, it's not gone. There's so there'd be plenty to buy. Even VW themselves told us that they're likely going to have, inventory to extend through the 2026 model year still. So from the customer's perspective, we probably won't even see a difference, which is nice, at least for this model year going into next.
So that kind of gives you an idea of how low volume that is. Then
yeah,
really selling that few where they're just like, well, we can stop and kind of do fine for the rest of the year. That's where you see maybe they are having issues with that. And then, because they mention here in this release we got, which was the EV market continues to challenge the industry, and they didn't really go into what that means. I assume, I don't know, is that difficulty building it, cost of the batteries, or selling them and getting dealers to communicate to EV buyers that may not understand the things like a lot of out of spec viewers or something do.
Yep.
A lot of us, are nerds and get into that and said know all the details, and we don't really need the dealer to show us all that. But as I've seen time and time again, educating family, it's like, so there's just so many uphill battles with that, and I feel like the dealerships don't help. And then it's probably just a combination of challenges. I would guess.
I agree. There was definitely a barrier of information when Lightning shopping. Went to so many different dealers and the same thing every time. They just see trim and price. They try to sell you to that. They don't know what the trim has. They just see, Lariat and compare it to Lariat gas F-150. Notoriously, I went to a dealership up in Claremont, and I was looking at a extended range XLT back in 23.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'd love this one. I just need the battery pack. That's all I care about. There was a Lariat that they wanted to sell me. They wanted to upsell me that. It had a standard pack. And for some reason, there's a disconnect there. I was like, no, this doesn't go as far as the lower XLT one right here. They're like,
but you got the same gas tank. It doesn't matter.
The higher trim, you want to get the massaging seats and speakers. I'm like, no, I just want battery. And so, yeah, dealership is, I'm pretty sure, a big barrier with that. And two, back to the ID Buzz. I heard earlier that Alice Bay actually spoke to a VW USA spokesperson about like that whole confusion, and they did confirm that ID Buzz is coming back for 2027, but the decision to source it from decision to source ID.4 from another factory in our market, or foreign market, I should say, that hasn't been decided yet. So they'll keep us up to date on that. So that's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, because I guess we don't have the tax incentive reasons, do we, now to
exactly
build in the US with that Chattanooga or anything like that, right? So
I think that was a big reason why a lot of manufacturers canned their EVs in the first place. Ford didn't have a reason to produce a Lightning anymore. They were taking a loss on the front end, but they had those incentives on the back end, or
Mm.
the internal side of that production to keep it going. Once those are gone, they're like, okay, what are we doing? And that's when they discontinue that, and we see more and more happening. I think that's going to be the biggest player, is the lack of motivation financially for these manufacturers to build here.
Yeah.
It could very well be, in fact, that they're just building it elsewhere and shipping them here, or vice versa. Who knows, really? I think we'll for sure know once they reach out back again with more information. But I have a lot of speculation.
Yeah, and I guess too, lease deals on more expensive EVs, especially leasing, was such a popular thing that when you had the tax credit, you could just get crazy deals that are hard to get. And so, unless the dealer or the manufacturer or whatever takes that loss, you don't have as much that they're getting from whatever the government or to the dealer to help give to customers and stuff. So that probably makes it harder too, because selling one is probably, I would love to see, how much more difficult that is on an expensive EV that takes a lot of loss in value than leasing on a good deal.
Yep.
Yeah, so that probably hurts too in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So pretty crazy news. We're hoping to see what happens going forward. A quick other bit from VW we got here. They're also exploring pathways to, this is their own verbiage here, introduce a potential new product intended specifically for U.S. consumer needs, in line with the new focus of high volume vehicles. And those details will also be announced at a later date whenever they get to that point. What could that be? Could that be when they say a U.S. consumer need specifically? That can mean a lot of things. While we have a shortage of like small cars.
That ain't never gonna be that.
Yeah, exactly. We have a shortage of small cars, but we have a huge like uptick in buyers wanting big cars.
Yeah,
It's like big SUV.
definitely 3-row something or another.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
Minivan something. Bring back the minivan.
Yeah.
Make the ID buzz, but just more aerodynamic and give it a slightly bigger battery. And
Yeah. No, that'd be good. That's the one thing that stopped me from considering buying one. I want just a little more range for that price. Apart from that, it's such a cool van. I love that thing.
yeah.
But yeah, well, let us know what you guys think about this. If you have an ID.4 or plan to get one, or just an EV enthusiast like us, like, what do you think about this news, and what do you think we'll see from the future for ID Buzz, ID.4, and Volkswagen in general with this potential new product coming? Yeah, let us know in the comments what you think, and thanks for watching.